Good morning and welcome to Shop Talk Live. My name is Jeremy Kemp. I am the Director of Products at Mathews Company, and I am coming to you live from the grain dryer capital of the world, Crystal Lake, Illinois. And today's topic for Shop Talk Live is Harvest Update. This is our second harvest update. What else could we talk about in October? And on the phone, I've got three special guests from across the Corn Belt. I've got Ryan O'Neill, Regional Sales Manager, coming to us from Ohio. I've got Nick Kloos, also a Regional Manager, coming to us from Western Minnesota. And from right here in Crystal Lake, I've got Kevin Ryan, and Kevin is a service technician, and he takes calls from all across the Midwest on a daily basis, and they'll be telling us the observations that they are seeing from the 2020 harvest. So with that said, let's move forward and talk a little bit about what I'm seeing from right here in Crystal Lake. We'll start with the USDA report. So according to the most recent USDA report, which came out on Monday, corn harvest is 60% complete. This is well over the 5-year average of 43% and a full 19% beyond where we were at just 1 week ago. So we had a week of awesome harvest conditions, got a lot of corn put into the bin. Beans, same story. Beans were already well on their way. They're at 75% complete according to the latest USDA report. Also trending well ahead of the 5-year average of 58%. So what's that mean for moistures? For any of you that don't know, Mathews Company has a fantastic remote monitoring and control tool for your grain dryer, and that actually reports to a web server. It's web-based software, and that means we can kind of see what's going on across the Midwest. We can see where people are drying and what kind of moistures are coming into the dryers. That gives us a great overview. So what I'm seeing at this point in harvest, very few locations with significantly wet grain. Very few locations. What I mean by that is more than 25% moisture. A lot of locations where guys are taking out 1 and 2 points and talking with people on the phone. What I can't see is when your dryer isn't running, I'm hearing of a lot of guys that are actually taking stuff out of the field and putting it straight to the bin. So that's what I'm seeing from Crystal Lake. Let's talk to the guys and hear what they're seeing when they're out starting dryers, talking to their customers, what kind of crops are guys getting this year and how far along are they. Let's start with Ryan in the Eastern Corn Belt. Ryan, go ahead and tell us what you're seeing.
Yeah, good morning, Jeremy. What I'm seeing, and I'm just going to give you a quick description like I did last time in my territory. I cover Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, draw a line to Florida, minus Kentucky, Tennessee, back to Maine, Ontario, and Quebec. So obviously, my southern states like the Carolinas, Georgia, and down in there are wrapped up complete. And talking to the dealers down there, they're getting ready for start quoting for next year. Get up into the Virginia, they're right around 80%. Talking to one of my dealers over there, about 80% complete. So obviously it's working its way from the south to the north. Ohio is typically where not my main focus, but I live in Ohio, so I get to see what's going on around here. But the beans are probably, I'm going to say 90% complete. Wheat's in the ground for next summer, and corn harvest is just getting a good start. Last week we got a really good start, and I would say the corn harvest is probably about 30% complete at this point in Ohio. Michigan, I was in Michigan last week. I would say beans are probably 80% complete, if not 90 now. And the corn harvest is getting a good start up there also. Watching the dryers online, and most of the dryers in Michigan are drying corn at this point. Talking to my dealer in Ontario last night, their beans are about 90% complete also, if not 100. And they're getting good start on corn harvest. Their moistures on corn, they were blessed with rain, and their moistures on corn are about 30%, which is about the highest I've got in my territory. And most on an average in my territory, the corn is averaging roughly anywhere from 20 to 25%, probably closer to 22, I would say, on an average. So southern Indiana working its way north. Southern Indiana, we still have some dryers running, but they're pretty much complete down there to on the harvest also. So everything's working its way north. Quebec, I have not got a really good feel on Quebec yet. Obviously, there's a language barrier, but looking at dryers that are running in my territory, there is a few running, but typically they're a month behind everybody else. So all in all, it's been a pretty good harvest. We got a lot done last week. We're getting some rainfall now, which is good for the wheat, but slows down the harvest, obviously. So in a couple of weeks, hopefully I can report that most of my territory will be 100% complete. So I guess that's what I got, Jeremy. Thank you.
Hey, great progress, Ryan. One question. Where's the
Yes, sir.
garden spot in your territory? Who's got the best yields?
The best yields right now probably is in Ontario. Like I said, they were blessed with rain. They've got they got the best crops that they've had in many, many, many years. And I've got some really good yields down in southern Ohio, down the Cincinnati north. That was very blessed with rain also all summer.
All right, well, thanks for that report, Ryan. Let's take a look at Bill Wood's territory. Bill's not with us on the phone, but I've got some good information from Bill, and I'll talk about the Central Corn Belt. So Bill covers everything from Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, all the way down to Texas, the Gulf Coast. Of course, the southern area of his territory is pretty much complete, has been for a little while. You move north into more of the traditional Corn Belt, Iowa, Illinois. Iowa, of course, struggled with the storms a little while back and had to get out and harvest some of that crop early, but there, areas that weren't impacted by the storm are still underway, but they've got a fantastic start, well ahead of their 5-year average. I'd say the same thing with Illinois. Wisconsin's been at it for a little while, and northern Wisconsin is well ahead of their typical point at in mid-October. However, just traditionally they start a little later, but I don't believe we have a new dryer sold in 2020 in Wisconsin that hasn't already been started. So things are running, things are going very well. Yields have been all across the board. I've heard reports that rains were so spotty across some of the traditional hot spots or traditional really quality ground in places like Iowa and central Illinois that you can drive 5 miles and see 100 bushel difference in your yields. But so I wouldn't even call out a single location as kind of the garden spot for Bill's territory. It's more luck of the draw, where you were at, where the storm came through or the rains came through in the most timely fashion. As far as moistures go, very similar to what Ryan said. I'm not seeing anything that's over 25% anywhere in Bill's territory. As a matter of fact, very little over 22%. A lot of guys are taking out 1 and 2 points. Biggest complaint I hear is they can't keep the dryer full or they can't unload it fast enough. Of course, that's a product of not only great dryers, but also the fact that they're only taking a few points of moisture out and the grain is just absolutely flying through those dryers. So there's my summary of the Central Corn Belt. I want to move on to Nick Kloos's territory. Nick handles the Western Corn Belt. So go ahead, Nick. Tell us what you're seeing.
Yeah, good morning, Jeremy. Everything seems to be going quite well in the central states, South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, all well above their 5-year average. Right now, Minnesota looks to be about 2/3 complete. And Minnesota, North Dakota's a little bit further behind. I would have to contribute that to a lot of 2019 harvest was taken out this spring, and so that had to also get tilled and then replanted for this year. But right now, they're still largely above their national average or 5-year average. They're sitting a little over 50% done. Minnesota about 2/3 done. South Dakota about 2/3. you get up into Canada, and a lot of the canola crop is off. Most of it is off. Still got some drying to do. That is wet in the bin, but everything seems to be going well. When you're talking moistures, like you had mentioned, seems to be about 10 points or less. A lot of it last week. We had a great drying week here in the Midwest, and went from 20% done to 65% done. So we had a great week last week. This week, not so much. We're working on our second snowstorm here for the year, but it looks like it's only going to stick around for about a week, and then we'll get back into the 40s so we can finish off harvest. Even with the snow, I see there's dryers going, so people got out and got their wet bins full, and I see the combines going right through the snow. When we're talking only 5-7 points, yeah, they're still moving, especially in the mornings when the ground's froze. So that's about what we're finding out here in the Midwest. Yield's been looking really good throughout the whole central states, Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota. Got some good rainfall throughout the year. Canada is looking at one of their bumper crops on canola, and of course small grains done, and that looked very well also.
That's great to hear, Nick. That's a good report. Good to hear that our farmers across your territory are seeing mostly good yields and actually making good progress. Despite the snow, I feel for you with the white stuff already outside of your window. Well, let's move along. I want to talk to Kevin Ryan. He's our quality service technician, so he's talking to our dealers on a daily basis. He's on the front line of issues with dryers and with harvest in general. So Kevin, why don't you tell me what you're hearing from folks all across the U.S. and Canada?
Good morning, Jeremy. I think it's fair to say that the information we just got from our regional sales managers, from what the calls that we take for their dealers, is pretty accurate. So most all of the operational and startup stuff is pretty much handled. We've got a few guys kind of just getting started, like in Ohio. So we're talking to them quite a bit, and a little bit in Ontario, and a little bit in the Manitoba, Saskatchewan area. So we're talking about those guys getting some operational things going and doing preseason. But the bulk of what we're doing now really is fine-tuning and providing some assistance with how to run the dryer. So, and that's a good thing. So we're working with the dealers. The dryers are running good. It's just a matter now of providing some of the assistance to really optimize how it's running and how to get the dryer master system fine-tuned and running as best it can. So from that point of view, I think most all of that has worked out pretty well. We've got a very skilled dealer network, so they've been a great help. We've had a little bit of working with them on establishing some communications when they get a situation where they don't know if it's working or not. So we've had a little bit of discussion there, but all in all, I think it's worked pretty well. I guess as we start to come over the top here and come to the end of the dryer season, maybe post-season wrap-up, I can't stress enough how important it is to, if you can, when you're done, clean the dryer out. Super, super important, especially the burner. And then can't also stress enough, especially in tower dryers, to cover the burner, because we have a lot of issues getting started with water in the gas drain. So very important. Aside from that, I think we are on the downhill side of it right now, and things from a service standpoint are actually looking pretty good. So we're having a successful season.
Hey, that's great to hear, Kevin. And one other item I'd like to point out, you know, at MC we've been producing a lot of video content, not just Shop Talk Live, but you've been involved in some tech tip videos, and we've got a few of those that have recently been published. I know throughout Harvest we've been publishing almost on a weekly basis, tech tips, and we have a library that exists from prior years that help people troubleshoot any problems they might have. I think you shot a tech tip this week or last week regarding communication errors. Is that true?
Yep, we took, and it's just a super easy thing to do. And if the dealers have a computer monitor that has a VGA output and an older style keyboard, we can plug that into the Dryer Master board, and that will tell us quite a bit about what's going on. It helps us troubleshoot the system. The communications pieces between are actually very reliable parts. So
current issue, take a look at our YouTube channel. If you're watching this from Facebook, just bounce over to YouTube. You'll see our entire video library. You can scroll through all of the tech tips, and there's a pretty good chance the information you're looking for already has a video. So thank you for joining us. Thank you guys on the phone for your updates. I wish everybody a happy, healthy, and profitable harvest, and we'll see you next time on Shop Talk Live.